My friends, welcome to my studio. I thought it would be fun to start sharing some short vlogs, behind the scene vlogs of what my process looks like, inspiration, things that I'm working on over here. Those of you who are a part of my Patreon community will know I share really long form vlogs, 30 to 40 minutes a month of life behind the scenes of what it looks like running my business, little aspects of family life. So if you are interested in what life does look like for a working artist running a business, as a solopreneur. Over on my Patreon, I actually have just more extensive videos about life behind the scenes over here, running my creative business. But I did think it would be fun to kind of share some little short videos of projects and things I'm working on. I'm always so curious. As an artist who's been doing this for a really long time, I just never get tired of hearing and seeing how other creatives run their businesses, or how just people work behind the scenes, whether they're making art to sell, or they're doing it for a hobby, or just for fulfillment. I just love, maybe because I'm nosy, I just love seeing how people have their setup, what their process looks like, what things look like behind the scenes. I'm always just so curious. So whenever I get a peek into other people's lives and setups and studios and the way they do stuff, it just makes me happy. It's just really interesting to me. So I thought I would share again, some shorter form little vlogs. And so I'm going to share with you today my pottery process. Those of you who are new to me or new to anything that I do out there, I come from a creative family. My parents are both potters, so I grew up with a lot of pottery and the process and studios and showing and galleries and selling and the whole process of throwing on the wheel and glazing and what it looks like from start to finish, which is really extensive. And you know what? I didn't really have a lot of interest in being a potter. I want to be a painter. That's what I went to school for. But the last 10 years, I've really had fun glazing and painting on pottery. So my parents, are kind of partners in this process. They will either throw on the wheel or hand build pieces that I design and make them in bulk for me, and then I go wild glazing and adding details. And then usually once or twice a year I sell these things. So we are leading up to the holidays, and I've actually been hard at work over here, summer and early fall, working on just a ton of pottery pieces. This process is really detailed. It's very, very slow. It looks a lot different from the other things that I do, which is very fast and messy and expressive. I work a lot slower. A lot of the designs on the things that I create are a little bit more illustrative. I kind of come up with things just as I pull out my glaze. I don't plan them out too much, but I spend a lot more time. I also have to use lots of teeny tiny brushes and dip and paint and dip and paint. So it feels a lot different from even acrylic paint or ink or drawing with pens. It's a very slow process. And that is why I typically only do this once or twice a year, because I teach so much, I don't often have time to make tons and tons of products. But it's really fun leading up to the holidays to create a lot of handmade pieces. I have a lot of collectors out there, a lot of people who choose a piece of pottery every year and add it to their collection. So it just kind of brings me joy, because I spend so much of my year teaching other people how to do things. I'm always trying to make space in my own creative schedule to make my own work and to grow and change and try new things. And pottery is one of my favorite things to do because it just feels so different from other stuff that I do. And I love the way everything feels at the end. So I've been in the glazing process for a number of months. I've been challenging myself to do like 5 or 6 pieces a day for the last 5 months. Just so I can squeeze things in, but I'm getting close to a deadline, so I'm trying to finish some stuff up, glaze, and I'm going to show you that process. Then I hand everything off to my parents who have a studio, pottery studio right next door to me. And they will dip everything in a glaze, and then we fire it in the kiln, and then I photograph everything and get it all ready for the holidays. So I'm gonna give you just a little peek behind the scenes of my glazing process, what it looks like for me to create on something like clay. It's just like another layer of something that I do over here. They're each little pieces of art, and I take a lot of time creating them, and I thought this would just be a fun thing to share with you all, and you'll get to see the finished products once they hit the shop as well. So I hope you enjoy this peek behind the scenes. I'm going to try to do more of these with different projects and things I'm working on. Probably won't talk as much as I'm talking in this video, but I think sometimes when people see me do pottery, they're like, wait, what? I thought you taught, or you art journal, or you paint. I do, but this is something that is really special and something I try to pull into my process throughout the year, and I thought it'd be a fun thing to share with you all. So come along, I'm going to show you what it looks like glazing pottery and handing it off, firing things, and seeing what they look like after it's all said and done.
So I thought I would share a little bit about the supplies that I use. I have a giant collection of really tiny brushes. These are typically really cheap brushes. I don't tend to splurge on paintbrushes or glazing brushes because I just don't treat things very well. So I have a big collection specifically for glazing pottery. Oftentimes I will cut things down so that they are even tinier so I can get really, really small details. So much of my work, especially with pottery, is all about line work and details and repetition and pattern. So it's really important for me to have some smaller brushes. I like round brushes, flat brushes for larger areas, but you can see this is my beat up, well-used collection of pottery brushes that I only use for glazing. And then we've got the glaze. I am currently using Duncan Easy Stroke Underglaze, and it comes in all kinds of different colors. Often these colors look very different before they are fired in the kiln. This brand has been discontinued, but I have such a huge stockpile that I'm still continuing to use it, and I like it. And then we've got the bisqued pieces of pottery that I will glaze over the top of. So these are made by my parents. Sometimes they hand build them for me because I like really interesting shapes, the flower, hearts, hands. I like wonky shapes of plates, so my mom hand builds for me, and then my dad will also throw bowls and vases, mugs and cups on the pottery wheel. And once those are made, they get fired in the kiln one time, and this is what they look like. They are all ready to be glazed. So something to note about pottery is there are basically a million steps that go into everything, and it's worth it because the end result is really beautiful. But I have a giant collection of these pieces that I spend time glazing over the span of a year, and it actually takes me a really long time because the process is very slow, methodical. You'll see how slow it actually does take me to add color and teeny tiny lines. Some of the pieces will get like a heavy layer of color. I like to fill in space with like opaque blocks and fields of color, and then other pieces I go in with my black glaze with all kinds of teeny tiny lines. The process is so slow. Oftentimes I will sketch things out, other times I will just work off of the top of my head. Some of these smaller pieces I have the different designs just ingrained in my brain so I can do them from memory. But it's a really, really beautiful way for me to slow down my process. So much of what I do in my art is often about expression and getting messy with paint, but I also really love line work and pattern and repetition. I love teeny tiny lines, details, and so this is a fun thing to add to the surface of pottery. I typically have different designs for different shapes, so obviously I'm working on a flower-shaped little jewelry bowl where I have a specific 2 to 3 different designs that I will do on this shape. Then we have round bowls, I have hand little plates, round plates, wonky shaped plates, oval plates, and I have a variety of designs that I have specific for the different shapes of those bisque pieces. And because my job as an artist is typically all about creating online classes, so creating content, teaching and sharing that content in a variety of different ways, I don't necessarily have tons of time in my schedule to spend all day, every day glazing pottery. And so I've tried over time to incorporate this process into my schedule where I'll challenge myself to just glaze like 5 pieces a day. And over the span of days and weeks and months, I start to build up this fun little stash of pottery that I save up till the holidays. And the process of just slowly picking away at little pieces each and every day has actually really helped me, not only with my schedule, but also with my hands and my body. I am not young anymore. I'm 46 years old. And working this way can take a toll on your hands, your neck, your arm, your shoulder. So challenging myself to do just a small little amount of pieces each day or every other day has actually really helped me take care of my body, because yes, being an artist, you can injure yourself. You're using your hand so much, your neck, your shoulders can often have wear and tear by doing this every single day, all day long. So I like to take my time and kind of pick away at it over a span of days, weeks, months. And then when I have a good solid batch of pottery, it is time for me to hand it off to my parents, who have a studio next door to my own with all of their pottery supplies and equipment. And the next step in this entire process is waxing the bottom of each and every piece so that it does not stick to the shelves of the kiln, and then dipping each and every piece in a clear glaze. This is the glaze that will make things shiny. It's going to create a barrier between the underglaze, all that color and those lines, and protect it. And like everything with the pottery process, it is quite extensive and time involved. And I do not have video of the process because my schedule is completely opposite from my parents, but I do have a couple of photos from the past of my dad first waxing the bottom of my pieces. So taking each piece separately and putting a barrier of wax on the bottom, and then it gets dipped into this giant bucket of what looks like beautiful green goo, which is actually the clear glaze. And then all those pieces get loaded on shelves in the kiln and fired. Fun fact about the word kiln, people say it 2 different ways, kiln or kill. Old school potters like my dad say kill, where the N is silent, but I just prefer to say kiln because I don't like to run around saying kill. I don't know, it's just my preference. And this is what it looks like. This is after everything's been fired and things are cooling. So there are stacks and stacks of shelves filled with all that pottery. Oftentimes it is too hot to unload and touch, so we have to let it cool for quite a while and then we can unload it. For me, this is my favorite part of the process because opening things up and seeing how they look, it's like Christmas Day. It's like a little surprise because everything looks a little bit different after it's been fired for the last time. The process is really special, I think, because there is so much time and different steps that go into it. Also because it's a collaboration with my parents, and also because I spend so much time on each and every piece. I am emotionally attached to each and every one of them, but I love this process. It has been such a really fun and interesting way to work in a different medium and get creative with my art in unexpected ways.
Okay, we are done. This batch of pottery is done. You can tell by the previous clips, everything looks very different from the way it did before it was glazed and fired. The colors of the glaze are a little bit different. Everything's really shiny. Everything now is literally dishwasher safe. They can go in the microwave. You can wash them in the sink. You can use them for food. I actually have a giant collection of my own pottery, often seconds or mistakes that I've made, like a big old stack of plates that we use all the time for snacks and appetizers. So once everything's fired, they are safe and able to be used in a variety of different ways. So the next step for me is to actually photograph this batch and 2 other batches, edit those photos, upload them to the online shop, and they will sit there waiting to go live for Black Friday weekend, which is the time of year that I sell my art. So Black Friday weekend, all of this will hit the shop, go live. If you're interested in trying to snag one of these pieces, I will definitely put links in the description. They tend to go really fast, but I will give you all of the links and probably put a reminder on my channel when we get closer to that weekend. I'm super happy with this batch. This was such a fun process that I've been picking away at all year long. And while I only do this once or twice a year, it's just a really important, fun, creative way for me to continue to be an artist. About 90% of my time and my income comes from teaching online, and while I just love, I have so much passion for teaching and sharing creativity with other people out there, I'm still an artist who loves to make things. Behind the scenes at the holidays, I have tons of family I'm making things for. It's just a big piece and part of who I am and my creative process. And so doing something like pottery is a fun way to work in a different medium, is to work slower, have more patience and discipline. It's just a fun way to work and then put that work out into the world. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. I'm gonna try to film more of these behind the scenes, kind of more vlog style, just to share what it looks like being a working artist and how some things look and the time and effort and what goes into, you know, making and doing all the wild and creative things that I do. So I will be seeing you very soon. In the meantime, please make sure to like and subscribe. Check the links in my profile if you're interested in getting one of these pieces. And I will be seeing you really soon. Okay, bye.